We have our last award, and I'd like to invite Dr. Stephen Preskill back up. This is a special recognition award this year. Stephen?
Well, in every organization, community, and culture, there are people who hold those organizations and cultures together. And they do it quietly, but they do it daily and very substantively. These are people who often broker information and news and have a way of bringing people together to learn together, to gain new perspectives together, to share ideas together. And Lee Manchester, here at Wagner, on a daily basis, without fail, shares with us the daily bulletin. It is the first thing that I look at every day to find out what's going on at Wagner, to find out where is an exciting meeting going on, or a speaker that's coming up, or a gathering that's happening that you want to be a part of. And that function of providing that kind of important information builds community. It really strengthens a culture. But that's not, as important as that is, that's not all Lee does. Lee Manchester also is very dedicated to documenting the history of Wagner, to trying to understand about Wagner's roots. I know he's working on a history on the centenary that Wagner will be celebrating soon of the time that it moved here to Grimes Hill. It was 1918 or 1917? Anyway, it's coming up soon, and Lee is working away on this and documenting that. But that's not all he does. He's also a presence at all sorts of meetings, all sorts of gatherings. I feel like I see Lee Manchester almost more often than I see anyone else at those social justice dialogues that we try to have, or at a teaching and learning symposium, or at a speaker's talk, or at a departmental gathering in which some wonderful person has been brought in, or someone recording Tricia Rose's entire speech. Again and again, I think Lee Manchester brings us together as a community, and he's an unappreciated, I think, greatly underappreciated, not nearly as well known as he should be, as a terribly important force in this community. So it's with a great deal of pleasure and pride that we present this final award to Lee Manchester. You could call it the Communication, Continuity, and Memory Award because of all the ways in which he's contributed.
I really have no idea what to say, and I'm not caught speechless very often. When I was first sent the announcement that I was expected to be here for this reason, I wrote back to Sam and said, "Are you sure you meant to send this to me?" Because I'm really not used to thinking about me as being a player. My role is to tell your stories and to share the information about what you're doing with everyone else so that we can all come together. I'm not used to the focus being on me. But I thought about this when I talked with Sam and when I talked with Steve, and I remembered when I first got into the newspaper business, same year that Richard Garossi came here as provost. I went to I took over a small town paper in a little cow town in Central California, and it was a real cow town. You would smell the air, and the old-timers would tell you that was the smell of money. It smelled like something else to me. But I came to that little town from Los Angeles, one of the biggest, most active cities in the Western Hemisphere. But in that little town of Lemoore, California, running that little small town newspaper, I learned more about how communities actually work than I had ever learned before. And I saw the role both of history and of community newspapers in maintaining the identity of a community, because this was a community that was in danger of losing its identity. It was in danger of being swallowed up by the county seat, which was 12 miles away, and by Fresno, which was 35 miles away, a fairly large city in Central California. And the only things that were maintaining Lemoore, California's identity were its sense of its own history, and that gave it a sense of where it came from and who it was and what its values were. And its newspaper, which gave it a collective voice and allowed it to communicate within itself. And I felt just an extraordinary privilege to be able to run that little newspaper. And I've continued to do that in the newspaper that I went to from there. And when I was asked to come to work at Wagner College, I was given the privilege of being able to do the same thing here for you, and to be recognized this way. I'm genuinely touched. Thank you very much.